Today we're learning about piano inversions, which is much different than piano diversions, like when my ex-girlfriend used to play me Scott Joplin as her lovers escaped through my bedroom window. But anyways, inversions are really good. So we're gonna talk about some easy shortcuts you can take first, and then maybe go into like the notes and make up an inversion. But really, super simple. Every piano player should know it, fake or otherwise. All it is when the root note of the chord is not the lowest note. So if we take a major chord, C major, which you already learned how to make any major chord from that Learn Every Major or Minor Chord video that I posted. Start with C major, C, E, G, right? You take a note, you skip a white key, skip another white key, there you go. All we have to do to make a totally different chord, an inversion, if you will, is take this top note, this G, and go one step up. So we're skipping this black key, going to the next key, which is an A. Okay, now, this gives a totally different chord. This is a C major to an A minor. All right, some would say the most important minor chord in a major key, the relative minor, the sixth note in the key of C. C, D, E, F, G, A. We can always make the sixth note away from a root chord just by raising the top note in that chord by a step. So C major to A minor. You can double up like a real boss. Right? So it's really any single chord that you know major-wise, you just take that one note, move it up 2 keys, one step, and you have a totally different chord. Now this works for every single major to minor chord in a key. Like we said before, there's 3 major chords in every key and 3 minor chords in every key. So if you know the 1, 4, and 5 in the key of C are the major chords in any key, right? So C being 1, D, 2, 3, 4 is F, and 5 is G. So if we take that root position, C major to F major to G major chord shape, every single time we can find all the minor chords in that same key just by raising the top note there. So I go from a C, E, G to a C, E, A, C major to A minor. Just like with F major here, I go from F major to its relative minor, D minor, and then G major to E minor. Okay, so really by learning the major chords, you can just alter the major chords to learn the minor chords in a key, all right? So again, this trick works in absolutely any key. We can take anything, take something like a D major, right? So we have a D, F sharp, and an A. We don't even have to know the notes to go into the relative minor of D. All you have to know is that top note, which is now an A, 2 notes higher, 1 step higher, is gonna give us the relative minor. And again, the root note of that relative minor is gonna be right here. So B minor is really a good way to just kind of test how, what the relative minor of any key is. Take the 5th note, you're jumping from the 5th note to the 6th note, which is why that gives us a B minor. So B minor is a chord that's always gonna fit with the D major, regardless of if D is the 1 chord, the 4 chord, or the 5 chord in any key. So we can do the exact same thing working backwards from minor to major, but I want to talk a little bit about just what an inversion is. Basically, it's just the exact same chord where the root note is not the lowest note, not the bass note. So starting on a C, again, this nice little shape, this hand shape gives us a major chord, C major chord, but it's good to start thinking about maybe what notes are in the key, the chord of C major, C, E, and a G. Right? No matter how you splice it up, a C plus an E plus a G, 2 Cs plus 1 G plus 5 E's, that's going to be a C major chord. Now, when we don't have the lowest note as a C, what we could do is we could have E being the lowest note, then a G, and then a C. Now the root note is actually on top of the chord. E, G, C. This would be called the first inversion of C major. A C major is a triad. That means there's 3 notes in this chord, right? So we have a root position of the chord, and then we have 2 inversions to give us 3 kind of different voicings of the C major. Again, the first inversion is just where the E is the lowest, E, G, C. The second inversion would just be G, C, E. Okay, now that's when the 5th is the highest. So when we go back to that kind of shortcut we did for that C major to A minor, now we see that this is actually just an A, a C, and an E. Those are the notes that would go into an A minor. So let's talk about going from a root position minor chord and then finding its major inversion, all right? So let's take A, C, and E. Okay, so we know that to get from an A, C, and E, we need to change that A to a G to get back to a C major chord, right? And we already have a C in this chord, in this root position, A minor, A, C, E. That C is firmly in the middle. It's a third of A. A, B, C, right? So A, B, C, C being the third of A minor, okay? All we have to do is we have to drop the lowest note, and that gives us a C major inversion, even though now G is our lowest note. So this is a really capable shortcut of maybe learning different chords, because say we have like a chord progression that's something like A minor to C major to F major to D minor, something like that, right? That's kind of a lot of hopping all around trying to find the root note. There's always a more efficient way to play it, and inversions are a really great way to just becoming more efficient as a piano player, all right? So again, if you have the A minor to C major, it's pretty easy. We just drop that, right? And then if we go to F major, we can look, there's a couple different options we have right here. My lowest note is a C, so ideally what I think of just going to the F from right there. Again, you always have options of which inversion you want to use, and specifically on a piano as compared to maybe a guitar, the inversion that you choose is going to have kind of a drastically different sound. Almost sometimes it sounds like a different chord, especially in context. On guitar, it's the same thing. You can use inversions to different taste, but I do think that on a piano, you really get a sense of what an inversion is doing for you. It seems to me and to my ears that inversions definitely are more drastic on a piano than they are on a guitar. Not that, that's a rule or anything. This is kind of how I always see it. So you go from like A minor to a C major just by dropping it, moving it down to F, and then D minor would be just raising the top right there, okay? So inversions are something you always want to try out. Any kind of extended chord you can always do an inversion of. Like real quick, example, C major 7, C, E, G, B. Now this is a 4-note chord, okay? So this is just root position. That means there's going to be 3 inversions of this chord. The first one would be E, G, C, B. Okay? Now again, this is a great example of maybe you want to use inversion, maybe you don't want to use an inversion. When we do this, root position C major 7, as compared to the first inversion, we end up with this B and C rubbing right against each other, okay? So maybe that's the sound you're going for. Maybe that isn't something that you want to hear. Maybe you want to keep the distance from the 7th to the 1st spaced out like that. It really does make a big difference on piano. So the next inversion that we could have would be a G, a B, a C, and an E. And then the final inversion we could have would be starting with the B. Okay, so inversion is just a really great way to kind of make your piano playing more efficient instead of popping to root note and moving all around the place. A lot of times you'll see some of the best piano players, it doesn't even look like they're moving out of position because they can just play all their inversions in kind of one spot. So just be more thoughtful about the notes. Let me know if there's any other kind of piano related videos you want me to try to tackle, and I will talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.